Forget monster challenge rating, tier, level, all that. Think monster ecology. Today in RPG Movies.
Oh, mucho ecological, Poncho. Mucho ecological.
Recently, somebody asked me, what's the deal with that map with all those little circles? And I say to you, those are my monster zones. There are multiple paths to becoming a game master or a dungeon master. In my case, I like to draw a map first. And after you draw that map, if you have the time, upgrade that map, make it look a lot prettier. Now, as we're standing here looking at this map, we got to think about all the different types of terrains and the different types of ecosystems that exist within your world. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick to some basic old school D&D, basically everything from D&D 5.0 to everything before, where essentially all the different races were very much like the Tolkien-like humanoids, elves, dwarves, all those kinds of things. Dwarves are dwarves are dwarves. And after doing that, and after reading some of the background for all those different races or different heritages or whatever you want to call them, you start looking at what do they need to survive. That's where monster ecology comes in. Now, this is the beauty of old school style D&D. We know where dwarves like to dwell, we know where elves love to dwell, and we can even imagine where orcs may want to dwell. So just by looking at this map, we know we're going to put dwarves somewhere near the mountains, and we know we're going to put elves somewhere near the forest. And I'm going to put my orcs in the southern land areas where I know there's a lot of hills, a lot of grasslands, and very, in some cases, very desertish kind of environments. This brings me to humanoids. Now, we all know any intelligent animal on Earth is going to be smart enough to be a predator, and so therefore all these humanoids in Dungeons and Dragons, ridiculously high numbers sometimes, can be considered predators. And they're all going to have their respective regions. They're not going to want to interfere in each other's boundaries.
This is my dance space. This is your dance space. I don't go into yours, you don't go into mine.
Now, after establishing all these different humanoids and looking at those resources that they might need for those different humanoids or races or species, we need to consider another problem with these humanoids, which is power in the form of greed, ambition, or they're just plain psycho. And on top of that, think about overpopulation and how they may encroach on each other's territory. Which brings me to another subject, which is probable encounters. Not random encounters, but probable encounters. Because all these humanoids are taking over the world and they're always constantly expanding and battling with each other, it is very likely you're going to encounter these different types of humanoids. Now, the one thing to think about is I looked it all up, all the different types of games, D&D, Pathfinder, Shadow Dark, all the humanoids, the basic humanoids will have anywhere between 1 to 3 dice for hit points. That kind of gives you precedent to actually allow your players to start somewhere around level 3 to 5 to make sure they're competitive in that world. Beyond all that, let's think about the apex predators, the ones that can kill or destroy and eat those humans if they're not destroying themselves. So looking at here for my apex predator are dragons to the northwest, dinosaurs to the northeast, and giants all across that mountain. Now, when you think about it and we put in those humanoids into that situation, now you can start seeing how these probable encounters are actually happening because there's a lot of overlap with these different monster zones. Now, you're probably looking at this map and thinking, wow, there's just really not a lot of life in these maps, but what I didn't include are commensal, mutual, and the prey species that are out there. And so you can just imagine within this map, there's all these birds, tigers, small fae, gnomes, halflings, kobolds. These are all living throughout the different areas of this continent. That might take a little bit more attention to detail, so you kind of have to decide what these are. Are they dominating, less dominating, all the different humanoid species I talked about, as well as some of these lesser species, depending on your campaign setting. Now, when you put it all together, you have this huge gamish of overlapping zones, monsters. You can see the conflict happening. Now you can establish probable encounters, and let's go ahead and put that in full color the way it's supposed to look. And of course, this is also doable for a water-based campaign where there's Viking seamen. You can see there, I still have the Kraken on there, which really disrupts a lot of the ships that are coming in and out of that area. But you can also have these other bodies of water that have these different types of monsters there. So if you're starting off with that one shot in this, you don't really want to think about these huge continent and all these different monsters. You can really start regional, pick a few small villages, then start creating some of those different monster zones, those prominent monsters that are there, those which will either be apex predators in some cases or just the humanoid predators. And always remember, you're going to have all those commensal, mutual, and prey living throughout your entire region. Don't think about those monster tiers, CRs, levels, or whatever. Think about your monster ecology. Think about those resources, the minerals. Think about those humanoids, their need for greed, ambition, and power. And then think about those situations where you have overpopulation. You start getting these circles overlapping, creating a lot of conflict. And by implanting in all these different monsters in these different regions, you no longer get this random encounters. You start getting these more probable encounters, which I think will help your game. I hope that was useful for you. Now you can establish a map, create all these different zones, these different monsters. Think about those ecosystems, mountains, wetlands, deserts. Plant those monsters there. Put your adventures somewhere, probably depending on what you want to do. You put those players somewhere either safe or somewhere very close to all these dangers, and just kickstart your adventure like that. I'm Don Franco 3. This is RPG Boons, where we talk about everything RPG and how everything is RP. If you like the cut of my gibberish, please hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. I'll get back to you. Until next time.